Hello everybody, it's Huss here, and this is part 2 of the pre-order, and I call this video the Happiness Lecture. Sounds really fun. Okay, so I broke it up into 2 parts because the first video I knew I was going to spend a certain amount of time on it, and I didn't want to have to rush through this part because this part is probably more important to you. And I think most of what I said in the last video, if you've been around a while, it's pretty common knowledge. This is not common knowledge. This is all based on my own personal experience over the past year. Because I've run a lot of pre-orders in the past year. I released 6 books last year and 5 of those were pre-orders. And I just released a book last week and that was a pre-order. And they were long pre-orders. So I'm going to tell you why I decided to do this last year and what I think of it. Okay, so the first thing, like the subtitle of this video, like I said, is called the Happiness Lecture. And this is why I'm doing pre-order. So the first thing I want you to ask yourself is, why are you doing this? Because it's hard work, right? There's a lot of really bad things that go along with being an author. So it's not a hypothetical question. You really need to answer it for yourself. There's no right or wrong answer. And you can want anything you want. You know, anything you desire, it's fine. If you want money, that's fine. If you want a high rank, that's fine. If you want to be famous, that's fine. If you want to be a New York Times bestseller, that's fine. But what you need to do before you release a book is decide what your goal is. It's so important to know that up front. Okay, so the next question is, what is going to make you happy? What is your definition of success? Now, if you're a brand new author, I don't think you can answer this question. But if you've been doing this a year or two, you definitely know what doesn't make you happy. Okay? And you hopefully have had some happy moments in your career already, and you know what they are. So, is your definition of success pride in crafting a good book? Is it the paycheck that you get from whoever, Amazon or Nook or wherever you're getting paid from? Is that what makes you happy, and is that your definition of success? Did you hit the top 100 and you're like, I made it, like that was my goal? That's fine. Or maybe you even made a bestsellers list. Maybe you do want to be famous, like E.L. James or, you know, one of those other big authors, and you want invitations to certain things. And in the little indie romance world, these things are these like special book signings where you have to be invited. Like you can't just show up. It's all by invitation only. So maybe you want that. Or maybe you want to be respected in the industry as an author or writer or some kind of validation. And all of this is fine. It's just that when you go to release a book, you need to know what you're after. And all of these things can change with each book. Like perhaps this book that you're writing right now, it's a story that you believe in and you just want to write a good book. That's fine. Maybe the next one is like, man, I got the best idea for a baby daddy book and I want to make, $100,000 this month. That's fine too. All of this is fine. You just have to stop and ask yourself with each book, what is my goal? Because you have to know that before you release. Okay, so why am I asking you this? I'm asking you this because it's very easy to become unhappy as a writer. I cannot even count up the number of depressed authors that I know right now at this moment who are having some kind of crisis in their career because they tie their success as an author to themselves, and their ranking makes them feel bad, or their sales makes them feel bad, and it's like, this is something that you have to be aware of. Number one, it's very easy to fall into this trap. And number two, you have to separate yourself from this shit because it's bullshit. Okay? And this is why people kind of joke with me because I'm like the I don't give a fuck person in the indie author world. Like, I really do not give a fuck what you think about anything I do. or anything I say. And that's why I'm like the VIP player of the don't give a fuck people. And because my MO is I keep my head down, I work really hard, and I don't care what anybody thinks about my books, about my writing, about anything, right? I'm just doing my thing. And not everybody's like that, obviously. I'm a little bit of an outlier, but you should try and adopt a little bit of this don't give a fuck stuff, because you do not want to jeopardize your mental health over something as stupid as a review that you get on Amazon, or something as stupid as not making the top 100, or USA Today, or New York Times, or you didn't make $100,000 last month and so did. Who gives a fuck? Okay? And this is what we're going to talk about in this video, and I'm going to tell you how I probably became one of the happiest motherfucking writers in the indie world today. This is how it's done. So like I said, you need a goal. Each book needs to have a set of clearly defined goals. Do you want money? Do you want rank? Any of those things are fine. You just need to know what you need, okay? You need to put it in your head very clearly what you're after, because most of you are not going to get both of those things, okay? And you have to realize that. It takes work and time and effort and sacrifice to get both of these things at the same time. Okay, so do you want to get in the top 100? And I'm going to have a very long conversation about the top 100 right now, and I'm going to get really real with you, and I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people, but I don't care, because what I'm telling you is true. First of all, if the top 100 is your goal, that's fine. But you have to ask yourself, do you need it? And if you think you do need it, why do you want it? And why do you need it? Because let me show you something here, kids. Okay, my goal, I'm going to tell you my goal. This has been my goal for, I think sometime in 2014, I came up with this number that, well, I know in 2013, after Tragic released, it released at 99 cents. It did fairly well for a brand new romance author. It was my first romance book. And the 99 cents, man, that killed me. Like, I can't pay bills with that. I know if I can't pay bills, you can't pay bills. So nobody's paying bills on 99 cents. So I came up with this thing back then when I was releasing that series, the Rook and Rowan series. I'm like, because I started getting a little success. So I was like, okay, I made $3,000 this month. I'm like, that's more than I made at my part-time job at the time. So I was pretty happy with that. And I remember thinking, when I got to $5,000 a month, I remember thinking, wow, this is a lot. Because I had another business at the time, and I had my part-time job. So I was actually making a lot more than, $5,000 a month. I was probably pulling in $8,000 or $9,000 a month. But it was just not all with books. So later on, when things started going, crazy good, I came up with this number, and it's still the same number, and it's a relatively high number. And I'm not going to tell you the number because you'll be like, Jesus fuck, I can't believe, that's her number. But I have a number, and I have hit the number every month, but maybe one since I came up with the number. And the reason I have this number is because I want to get paid every month. I don't care if I made $110,000 last month off whatever book. This month I still have to get that number that I have in my head. And I know Janet Aston and I talk about this all the time. She's like, I just don't think that way. And I'm like, well, this is just like my mindset, okay? Like, I have to get paid a certain amount every month. And so that's why I work that hard, because I just need to have a salary, if that makes sense. And most of the time I make way more than that number. So I'm doing really well. I shouldn't really be so focused on it, but this is my goalpost. And so if you need to make a certain amount of money every month, this can be your goalpost too. Just keep it in mind that you can only have one big goal at a time, okay? So mine is I need to make this money. And my second one is it's always nice to make a list. So yeah, I would like to make a bestsellers list. But the thing is that I have come to terms with, and that makes me very, very happy in my author career, is that if I make my money every month and I don't make the list, I'm not allowed to feel bad about it. Because that number one goal on that screen there, that's the only one that really matters. The second one is like dessert, okay? It's nice to have. So that's something that I think everybody should probably do. You should have one main goal. What do you want out of this book? Maybe you change your goal every month. Like I don't. This is always my goal. But you can change your goal every month. Maybe this month you want to get a book bub and make USA Today with that book bub. Or whatever it is. But you need to have one main and maybe one side. That's a little extra perk where you can reach around and pat yourself on the back for doing a great job. Okay, so this is where I come in with this top 100 bullshit right now, okay? If you've been around in this business for a couple years and you look at the top 100 today, you're like, what the fuck is happening here? Like, what the fuck? And I'm sorry if you're in KU, but KU is like, what the fuck, okay? I'm not in KU. I don't read KU books. It's not like I have a principle, and I don't read romance, so most of the KU books in there are romance. So none of what I'm saying is about romance, number one. And number two, I just like a really different kind of book that's not in KU. They're just not there. They're traditionally published, and that's just what I like. So I don't look at the top 100 anymore because, like, it's just, to me, that's just stuff I'm not interested in. So you'll have like, a bunch of more traditional publishers are in there as well. And if you've been around a while, again, this was something that was rumored to happen about 1 or 2 years ago. Well, it has happened now. The top 100 is a hot mess, and I don't think you need it. And this slide right here is why I don't think you need it. All the books on this picture that have a star next to them made USA Today. The ones inside the red box never made the top 100 and made the USA Today bestsellers list. Mr. Perfect had a short pre-order. If you notice the little box I have around the pre-order start date and release date, it was 1 week. It sold only 1,800 copies, and it was in the top 30, somewhere around there, for a couple weeks. So that was nice. Yeah, I'll take it. But then Mr. Romantic, I did a long pre-order with that one. And Mr. Romantic didn't get into the top 100. I don't even think, it might not even gotten in the top 200. Most of those I don't think got in the top 200. I know they didn't get in the top, 101 to 200. I know they weren't there. So they were either in the 200s or the 300s or maybe even in the 400s. And they still made USA Today, bitches. I still made a shitload of fucking money off them. Okay? And I actually don't remember if Sexy was in the top 100, but I'm thinking it was not. And it still made USA Today. And that was way back in September of 2015. Okay? So this has been happening for a long time. I don't have the final numbers this week for Taking Turns, but it's doing pretty well. So maybe, I don't know what it's going to do on Wednesday. We'll see. But I'm pretty happy with that pre-order, even though it's lower than some of them I've had. So here's the thing. If you think you need to be in the top 100, and you're not in KU, because I can see the benefit of the top 100 if you're KU, because I think really only KU readers are looking at it right now. But if you're not in KU and you think you need to be in the top 100, I would reevaluate that thought. I would really ask yourself, do you really need to be there? So here's my graph. This is as many days as I could go back. And remember I was telling you about December. So this is the end of October, November, December, and then the first part of January here, till I released Taking Turns last week. So in early November, I had a BookBub ad. That's the first peak. And it's a little bit sad on my graph, right? I mean, it just looks a little bit sad because that's not a big number for me. But if you look at the days surrounding it, I did promos leading up to it, and I did this for you guys, by the way. I don't usually promo a BookBub at all, but I did this for you guys. So when we got to discounts and promos, I could tell you what happened. And so here's what happened. The promos worked really well. You know, like I got a big bump when I announced it, and then halfway through the BookBub ad happened, and then I got a nice lift through these other advertisers. And I'm going to go over that, you know, more in detail when we get to that part of the process. But, you know, my sales dropped in November because I think it's because of the election. I really do, because December was a really great month for me. Okay, so this is where the shit gets interesting. So Mr. Match released on December 7th. It had an okay pre-order for most people, but for me it was a little bit low. It was 5,614, and so that is a little bit lower than some of my other ones. And then, of course, I don't know if you lose a couple hundred, but I always lose a couple hundred, like the charges don't go through, so it was less than that. But anyway, so it did that. It did this on release day, and then had the big drop again. And then I started running ads for the series. So this is a 5th book in a 5-book series. So this is the time, if you have the last book in a series, that you really want to pay attention to it and run some ads. So I did, and look, that worked fabulous for me. Remember that number I told you I needed to make every month? Well, I made 3.5 times that much in the month of December. 3.5 times my bottom line number. And it never made the top 100. Nothing made the top 100 that month. I didn't have anything on the bestsellers list that month, and I made 3.5 times my bottom line. So that's great, you say. What's your point? Well, my point is that Taking Turns released last Wednesday. This pre-order was a little bit low too. It was $59.30. So 5,930 pre-orders. You see 5,000 delivered on day 1, and then almost 3,000 on day 2, and then it drops, right? And it picked up pretty nice. Like, that's a pretty nice little hook at the bottom there. But let me tell you how much money I'm spending on ads right now. Like, it's insane. I don't even want to tell you. I'm embarrassed to tell you how much I'm spending on ads. So here's why I'm telling you this at all. If in the month of December I have a pretty average pre-order for me, don't make it the top 100, have no list, and just run some low-level ads. I really didn't spend a lot. Nothing like I'm spending right now at this moment. And I still make 3.5 times my bottom line, which is a huge amount of money. I mean, I'm not going to tell it to you because I'm embarrassed. It's so much money. And so you look at Taking Turns, and I was already doing pretty well in January with my Mr. sales from the Mr. series before Taking Turns released. So then Taking Turns released, and I get this big windfall of money into my bank account, or into my dashboard at Amazon. But you know what? Like, I think I'm going to have a longer tail, so my February will probably be better than it might have not have if I hadn't have released, you know. But I'm telling you, if I make, I probably will make more than I did last month. But I'm telling you, it's probably not more. It cannot be more than $20,000 more, okay? And I will be honest and tell you that probably 15 of that 20, maybe even more, is going to go to pay for the fucking ads that I'm running. So if I make, let's just say I make 20,000 more than I made last month with this new book, but I spend 15 of it on ads. Like, it's a lot of work to make those ads and do all this marketing, right? Which I did not do for the Mr. series all last year. Like, I never spent more than $2,000 on ads. Never. I might not even have spent that much on each of those books. And this book is crazy. Like, I'm spending more than that a day, you guys. So, do I really need to be in the top 100? Because this book did make the top 100. It's been there for several days now. And yay, I'm happy. That's great. Whether or not it makes a list, I don't know. Does it matter? I don't think it does. But what matters to me is the money, right? Because that's my number one goal. So if I made such and such money last month and I made 20 grand more, if I make 20 grand more, is it worth it to buy my way into the top 100 with ads if I'm only going to pocket $5,000 out of it? Like, we'll see how it does next week, so maybe I'll have a different opinion on this, but I have to tell you guys, it's looking like a big fucking waste of time to me. And yeah, I have the money to cover the ads because I'm making a lot, but time is more important to money. It was more important than money to me. And does it make me happy to do all this marketing every single day, which I did not do for the other books? Like, I really didn't do this stuff. So it's a lot more work to get myself into the top 100 after a large pre-order. Now, if this had been a standalone book and it had released like that graph I showed you on 321 in the last video, then that's different. But it's just so difficult. If you're going to do the pre-order, you almost have to let it ride and just relax afterward and take what comes. Because it's just very stressful to try and get yourself back into the top 100 after you have a 5,000 pre-order, 5,000 unit pre-order. It's just crazy. So, which of these made me happiest? I'm telling you right now that December made me happier. The 2-month pre-order with no top 100 and no bestsellers list by far made me happier than what I'm doing right now to push this Taking Turns book, which I think is a better book. And it probably deserves to sell more. But it's like, it's exhausting, right? So this is the question. If you have to choose money or rank, because you do, if you're doing a pre-order, this is like the existential question, right? Do you want money or do you want rank? You have to look at it, you have to take your goal into consideration. So you have to ask yourself, do you want money or do you want rank? Do you want new readers or do you want to make a list? Like, these are 4 just possibilities. And then everything you decide comes from your answers. Do you want to put it in KU or do a 99-cent release because that's going to get you one thing? Do you want to do full price and go wide because that's going to get you something else? Do you want to do a pre-order or a live release because that's a third option? And all these things will deliver different results. And if you don't know what your goal is, you might do the wrong thing to get the wrong result. Does that make sense? So if you want to make a list, you're not going into KU, right? Like that, you can't make a list. If you want to make money, you're not releasing at 99 cents. Okay, so these are things that you have to think about. And ask yourself, what is the easiest way to obtain your goal? Do you need to be in the top 100? Because I just showed you, I don't. I don't need to be in the top 100. I just showed you, what, 4 books or 5 books that made the USA Today bestsellers list without ever being in the top 100. So maybe you need to be in the top 300 or 500 or 1,000 or 10,000. It doesn't matter. You just need to know. And do you want to get on a bestsellers list? Then you have to take that in consideration. I think it's a lot easier to make a list if you have a large pre-order. But on the flip side, it's probably a lot easier to make New York Times rather than USA Today if you have something close to a live release, because you don't drop off as fast with your sales, and that helps in your ranking. So it's all so different. You have to think about it. And another thing that you have to think about when you make your goal is that you need to be realistic, because not every book makes New York Times. Not every author is going to make $1 million. Not even every author is going to hit the top 100. So you have to be realistic to what your genre is and what you're writing and what kind of fan base you have. Okay, so you notice that one thing I did not talk about is free books. Well, free books is called KU now, so we're not even going there. Okay, so now you need to decide which one of these authors are you. Do you release at a discount or in KU and have low sales and borrows? Do you release at a discount, go wide, but still have low sales? Do you release at a discount or KU and have high sales and borrows? Do you release at a discount and go wide and have high sales? Or do you release at full price and wide with low? And do you release at full price wide with high sales. So I think you're probably going to fall into one of these categories, and this is going to at least help you know where you are. And if you go back and listen to this lecture again, it's going to help you figure out your goal. Like, if you are trying to get on a list and you're releasing in KU, like, you need to reevaluate your release process or your goals, because you're not going to make a list. Do you want new readers because you don't have any? Then KU's maybe an option. Or, there's other ways. Maybe you release at 99 cents to get some new readers. So you have to ask yourself, where do you want to be next year? Where are you now? Which one of these are you now? And which one do you want to be next year? And the perfect year that I'm showing, the video series that I'm doing here, is going to help you plan that. Okay? It's not like a magic bullet or anything. It's just going to help you plan it. Okay, so one more thing that I want to talk about is repeatability. And I think you should understand that nothing ever works the same way twice. Every week is different. Every week has different books releasing. Every book is different. You're not selling the same story twice. You can't control people and what they want, and you have to understand that everything you do in this business is win some, lose some. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Maybe you don't ever lose. Maybe it's just a different kind of win. It's all about the mindset. And so that's why when I tell you, like I told you in the last video, you have to do all of it. All the social media. You do everything. You can stop doing it, but then you should try and do it again and again and again until you find something that works. Because what I do may not be what works for you. So I can tell you what I do all day long, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So, one last thing is, I know you don't want to hear that you have to write fast and release often, but it has certain benefits aside from money and finding fans quicker. And that is, you get more experience, because believe me, after releasing all the books that I have, I don't have to think about this stuff anymore. It's all just instinct. So, should you do a pre-order? Yes or no? I have no clue, guys. It's something you got to figure out on your own. It's something you got to go through your head and decide what your goal is and whether or not it's going to work for you. So maybe this was helpful, maybe not, but hopefully you got something out of it. And next time on The Perfect Year, we're going to go over the giveaway, which is very, very important. So again, if you don't want to check back every week, just fill out the form at the bottom of the blog post, and FeedBurner will send you an email and let you know when my post goes live. Thanks for stopping by. See you next week.